This week, set up a better way to use reference photos by using layers. You get a reference photo as a separate layer on a Procreate Canvas document and use the reference window to look at details. You need a photo to start. I have several at the website at makeappie.com, Procreate Art, and you can choose one of those here. Now, I'm going to use this one on the upper left because it's one we're going to be using in this lesson and the next to understand reference photos a lot better and how to deal with composition. Tap down on the image on my iPad, and you'll see there I get a little menu, and I'm just going to hit Add to Photos. So it's now in my photo album. Now, once it's in my photo album, I can go back into Procreate. And once in Procreate, I can go ahead and make a new document. So I'm just going to do new canvas screen size. There I am. Go over here to the Actions button, and we're going to go over to Add. And you'll see here that it says Insert a File, Insert a Photo, Take a Photo. And you've got these different choices you can do. If you want to take photos, you're in the field and you just want to get it and put it on your canvas so that you have it ready to go, just hit Take a Photo, and that gets you a perfectly good camera run, and then you can go ahead and do that. I'm going to cancel that. It works really well if you swip the camera around and do a self-portrait or something. We're going to actually use Insert a Photo. So I'm going to go over here. And there's my photos. And you can see right on top there is the first one. So I'll just tap that. And that brings in a photo for me to use. Now you'll notice up on the top, the arrow is highlighted. We're in selection mode. So we can start doing some editing to this photo itself. One thing I tend to do, you'll notice there's a lot of junk in the back of that photo, which I'm not going to use. I'm going to actually scroll this over a bit, and without taking it outside the image itself, and I'm going to zoom this out here so you can see what I'm doing better. I'm going to let it overlap, but I want to keep as much as what I'm going to be looking at in the image itself. And if I uncheck that arrow, it will crop off the stuff that's off the page here. And then if I put it back on, I can now, with my finger, move this around, and you can see that I've now gotten rid of a lot of that extra junk. So I can get a much better picture, get rid of some of the junk in the back there. And so I got rid of that extra lamp. So now I have my picture. I could scale this any way I want. You can take those little edges here and scale it. So you can just take the handles and scale it up and down. I'm going to scale it down a bit here. So I'll go to here, and then I'll move that over to the side here. All right, now I'm going to turn off that arrow and go back over here to Layers. And you'll see that this is on layer 1. I'm going to label this reference photo. And once I've done that, I can make a couple extra layers. I'm going to just put like 2 more layers on there for now. And I'm going to label them Toned Background, and Sketch. Now let's go into the toned background layer, and I'm going to go ahead and make a toned background here. I'm going to use 30% opacity on my brush here. And I'm going to go all the way up to 100%. And I'm going to use the dark and light cool tones here. So I'm going to do the dark cool tone on the top here. And I'm going to actually put a little extra in there. And then I'm going to take the light cool tone and put that on the bottom like so. And then I'll blend those together. I'll bring my brush up a bit. And I get that. I'll put a little extra dark on the top there. So I'm going to bring up my dark opacity a bit on that. And blend that in too. Okay, that looks kind of nice. All right, so I've got this blend. Now notice what's happened to the reference photo. The reference photo, if you look at the layers, is underneath the toned background. So whatever's in the toned background will show up more than what's on the reference photo. So you want to try to keep your reference photos, if you can, by holding them down and then dragging up until you see that there's an extra space there, all the way at the top here, and then release, And what you'll get is the reference photo on top so that you can actually see it well. So we've got now that set up. Another thing that I do is often show up the image with the reference photo on it once I'm done. Now, that doesn't look really good when you're trying to be professional. So remember that when you're ready to share the image, to turn off the reference photo by clicking off that little check mark there. But I'm going to put it back on again here. I'm going to slide it over a bit. And with just a slight slide, you'll find that there are 3 buttons here. You can delete this, you can duplicate it, or you can lock it. Locking is good here, so I'm going to tap the lock. That way I can't modify the reference photo. And one of the other things I do is I end up drawing on the reference photo, which is not what I want to do. In a later lesson, I'll show you how to get around if you do draw on the reference photo and want to clean up that layer a little bit better. But for now, we're just going to go like that. There's one more thing I like to do here, and that's if you go to the Actions button, you'll see a button that says Canvas. And on the Canvas button, you'll see one that says Reference. Now, I'll turn on Reference, and that gives me a very interesting image here. You'll see there's a little handle here that you can move around, and I can zoom in a bit on my canvas so it's a little bigger here. And you can zoom in on this too, and it shows you a picture of the canvas so that you can actually get really close in and zoom in while you're working on your image, that you can see what you're doing. And that means that you can get nice detailed looks at what you're trying to get here. So I've got that set up here. And then I can do my drawing layer, which is going to be my sketch layer here, over here, and I could start to sketch that out if I would like to. So let's go over here. And I could put that sketch in if I wanted to, like that, okay? And I can start following my image. So this is my general workflow. Some people, by the way, you'll notice that there is a button here for image. We'll actually import the image directly into the reference. I like having it as a layer because sometimes I'll click off the layer, because you could see on particularly a regular iPad or an iPad mini, it's really big and can get kind of in the way. So sometimes I'll go with just my image up here, particularly on my mini, and skip the reference image altogether and just start working from that smaller image that I have stuck on my image. So I'm just going to get rid of these lines for now. We're going to go ahead and do the drawing for this image in the next video. Your job for now, after you've now learned about this setting up this basic workflow, is try to set up this basic workflow again. Much of what we'll be doing in future lessons will assume that you've already done this step. Now, you can also draw the figures too if you wish, but the key is to add the photo to a Procreate canvas, tone a layer, and make a sketching layer. So give that a try and get ready for the big drawing lesson next time, where we will draw this image. So until then, keep creating.